Let's talk about that new polling, which shows Donald Trump is losing some support among Republican primary voters. In the latest CNN survey, 47% of registered Republican and Republican-leaning independents say Trump is their choice to lead the 2024 ticket. That is down 6% from a poll taken last month, but still 21 points higher than Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is in second place. Former Vice President Mike Pence and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley round out the top four, with no other candidate polling above 5%. The poll also shows Trump's favorability rating has fallen 10 points among Republicans since last month, from 77% to 67%. Additionally, 27% now say they have an unfavorable view of the former president, compared to 18% in May. Among all Americans, 59% say Trump should end his 2024 campaign now that he has been federally charged. That number is much higher at 85% among non-Republican voters. And finally, 55% of Americans say the former president broke the law with his mishandling of classified documents, while another 30% say his actions were unethical but not illegal. And I want to know who those people are, because Trump himself says he broke the law. Like, he's saying it with his words, and they still can't get there, which is hard to understand.
So let's go through these numbers. They're pretty devastating numbers for Donald Trump. And, you know, maybe he ends up winning everything. Who knows? So we've got a long way to go. But John Heilemann, I've been saying for some time, with people discounting DeSantis and the entire Republican field, we have a long way to go. At this point, when this show first started in 2007, people were talking about Hillary Clinton running against Rudy Giuliani. Long way to go. At this point in 1979, Jimmy Carter was losing to Ted Kennedy, getting about 1/3 of the Democratic vote to Ted Kennedy's 2/3 of the Democratic vote. Long way to go. But let's just go through these numbers for a second. Less than 50% of Republicans now, according to this poll, support Donald Trump in the primary. This is a guy, obviously, former president of the United States. Less than 50%. 1/3 of Republicans now say, 1 out of 3 Republicans say they have an unfavorable view of Donald Trump. 6 in 10 Americans say, about 6 in 10 Americans say he should get out of the race right now. And when we talk about, well, 55% of all Americans say he broke the law. But when we take out the hardcore GOP base, we look at Democrats, independents, swing voters, the people who are going to decide this election, 85% of Americans say he should get out of the race right now. And what the question that this begs is, what in the hell are Republican voters thinking that want to actually win the White House back in 2024?
Well, Joe, what are they thinking? I think a large and growing number of them are thinking, how do we get out of this? And I think, this is the connection between these two sets of polling. You really have to think of them as different things. As you and I, we talk about all the time, you've got this nomination fight, then you've got the general election. We are all familiar with Donald Trump's vulnerabilities as a general election candidate. Those are growing. And they have now, apparently, we're starting to see some connection between the two. They're separate, but they're connected. You now have some substantial, not yet a majority of Republican voters, but a substantial number of them who are the thing that people saw before the raid at Mar-a-Lago back last year. People who are getting Trump fatigue, who are saying, he's the loser. Give him a gold watch. Let's figure out some way to tell this man he did make America great again, and have him send him off to a happy retirement. I'm talking about how a number of Republican voters looked at him. Then they've rallied around him ever since then. And now it seems like there's starting to be some signs in this Republican nomination fight where the prior dynamic is kicking in, and Republicans who want to win. Not all of them. The base is still incredibly loyal to Trump. It's still, I'll say again, the most powerful force in our politics is the loyalty and the intensity of people who love Trump. That's enough to make him formidable in any GOP nomination fight. But the numbers are starting to show some signs of wear and some signs of cracking around his support in the party, and that's creating some openings for some of his rivals.
Well, and Sam Stein, two numbers here that if I were Trump, I would be very concerned about. I mean, if I were Trump, I'd be much more concerned about spending the rest of my life in jail. But politically, and I'm serious about that, politically, two numbers, and that is a majority of Republicans do not want Donald Trump to be their nominee. He's under the 50% mark for people who say they'll support him. That's a majority of Republicans don't want him as their nominee. And a majority of Americans, 55%, say the guy committed crimes. Those two numbers are very hard to get around if you're Donald Trump. Because what we're going to see most likely is we're going to see New Jersey indictments coming. We're going to see Georgia indictments coming. We're going to probably see the January 6th indictments coming. And they're just going to stack on top of each other.
Yeah, so, there's two things that can be true here. One is we've been down this road before where in the wake of an immediate scandal involving Trump, we see a dip in his poll numbers, including among Republicans. This happened, for instance, after the Access Hollywood tape. This happened, for instance, after the impeachments. This happened, for instance, after January 6th. And then inevitably, it ticks back up over time. So that's true. The second thing that can be true is that this could be a very unique circumstance for all the reasons that you just pointed to, which is this legal trouble that he finds himself in, by definition, is not going away. He still has to go to trial. There will still be days where he's in court, where evidence is being presented against him. And it's not even the extent of his legal troubles that we know about. There are at least two cases in which we could see subsequent indictments. So this has the issue here is not simply that he's being hurt by this indictment. It's that this is a continuous news cycle that could keep these poll numbers down and trending downward for him. Still, even with all this, as you note, a 21-point lead nationally over Ron DeSantis. And yes, the majority of Republicans maybe don't want to see him nominee, but you just need to win state delegates in the Republican primary. You need to be the one who wins the state in order to get all the delegates. And we've been down this road before in 2016, and that's the bind that Republicans are in right now, is that they may not like the guy, they may want to get rid of the guy, but enough of them may just be fine with it that they're bound to the man.